Welcome back. If you're just joining us, for switching our conversations now. Something that's taken the entire world by storm. Podcasts. If you're a human being anywhere, whether you listen to them or not, you definitely have heard about them and know that they are really the thing globally now. A lot of us are being threatened that our jobs are under under pressure because the podcasters are taking over, what it is we call traditional media. And I'm joined here now by two people who are going to be talking about, why this is happening and what's this craze looks like, especially here in Nigeria. I'm joined here now by Kimberly Aminobi and Chukwudi Ezugu, or husband material. I don't know what to call you. Thanks. Thanks to both of you for being here today.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
People have said it's a pandemic or an epidemic. Maybe let me not take it that high of podcasts that's happening across the world now. But Nigeria has shifted it to a different gear now, and I want to start with you because you're one of the quote-unquote culprits of this. You are a part of the Honest Bunch, I believe.
Yes.
Which is what's your rating now?
Africa's biggest podcast.
I knew he was going to go there.
I mean, the numbers don't lie.
What made you guys come together with that? What did you see? Did you see this becoming what it has become?
So when I had the conversation with Nedu and the other guy, we looked at what was prevalent in the world and also in Nigeria. And in the past, for a lot of people, it was elitist because you had to do a lot of research and speak big grammar. But now you have people who just turn on the microphone and express themselves. You mentioned traditional media. There are loads of rules that you must conform to or else you would get into trouble. But with this, it's a lot easier. And so long as you are expressive and you can be very, very loud, just tell it as it is. But when I had the conversation with Nedu, I told him, we can look at what we have now, but we can make it better. So let's always look out for impact. Because the truth is, if people are going to take their time to spend, say, an hour or two watching you share your thoughts and express yourself, if you leave them with something that they can take away, it would, be of value. So that was essentially what we targeted, came out strong. It did a couple of episodes that some people ignored. But when we had that hit episode, to God be the glory, which was, it featured Adala Pinky, who said that she would rather date older men because they give transport as against young guys who just want you around. She was the one that said if she wants to go out on a date, she would, pay for makeup, get a new dress and all. That was the 8th episode in the first season. And since then, we're grateful to God for his mercies.
You have your roots in traditional media.
Yes.
You do too as well.
Yes.
Are you a podcaster?
Okay.
Or an aspiring podcaster?
Okay, so I have.
And what do you think of the culture of podcasting in Nigeria? Because he's spoken there now about, the fact that, you share your opinions, which is a great thing. Traditional media restricts you to an extent. There's certain words you can use. There's certain things you can say. There's certain conversations you can have openly because there's rules. But at the same time, the culture that has pervaded this thing now, what do you think of it coming from your background?
Okay, so I would say most Nigerians tend to, copy the West. And the same West you guys are copying, you're not seeing that you're doing way too much than they're doing. Because there's this show... No, don't worry. There's this show called Cut.
Yes.
And I see the show it's programmed to watch how human beings act. It's just the same way Big Brother is, just to monitor how people's character, how two people can be alone in a room, how they will interact and stuff like that. But I think people tend to forget like you said, you had your guidelines for how you wanted your podcast, but now your podcast is trending for controversy.
No, not really.
It is.
Not
the most times you guys have gotten really big hits was actually controversy.
No, not true. Not true.
Yes, the last one. Last one.
I mean, it's not.
The last one shocked Nigeria. No. And I'm going to still say it. I think she just was expressing herself. I will still say it now, say it tomorrow. I don't think she is that kind of person. I think she was just, it's a podcast.
Do you find that is now happening a lot? And that's the two of you. Let me start with you and I'll come to you. Where people are saying things now, because it looks like, and that's where this conversation about, the podcast clout chasing has come from.
Exactly.
But people say that, okay, all of these podcasts are happening. People are saying the most outlandish and ridiculous things and try to out-ridiculous the last podcast so that you can get some conversation. You find that's what's happening.
That's what's selling. I just feel human beings don't like hearing the truth. When you lie to people, they buy it. So you have to come out and say the most ridiculous thing, and people are like, wow. Then they talk about you for a week. People just wake up one morning and just do the most ridiculous thing just because they want to trend.
Yeah.
And she trended for like a week or...
Yeah. So let me two-part question coming to you from that. First off, when you sit with these people, which you do, is it weekly? Is it
weekly?
About
Mondays at 6 p.m.
Do you find that sometimes you're like, this story is really just exaggerated? Do you know sometimes that these people are chasing clouds? So you just let it be?
So what we do is have a proper conversation as a team before we say, this guest best suits this episode. Now, a lot of people get to see the teasers on social media, and that is when people begin to share hot takes. And
this last one she said was more than teasers, Sha.
Well,
was the entire episode.
well. So the truth is, that episode featured two people, some sex therapists who shared
brilliant, very
great insights. But people saw, that particular teaser and ran with that. Truth is, like she mentioned, there are so many people who are a reflection of some of these people who appear on these panels and share their thoughts. But what we try to do is have proper conversations, build proper context, ask great questions, and get the responses. If you go on YouTube, or if you watch the full video, you would hear people say, you would see people, share comments like, thank God I watched the entire footage. I have learned this, I have learned that. Now, if we even look at some of these videos, a lot of people have a perception about certain guests, and they do not want to, because of that perception, you think this is who this person is. The podcast in Nigeria that has the most views is the Honest Bunch podcast that featured Portable. Over 1 million views. And the episode was titled Managing Success. If you go through the comments, over 4,000 comments, people were like, so this guy gets sense like this. You know why?
So I get
because they already have a perception about this person. But when they watch and listen and say, this person might not be let me not say book smart. This person might not be learned, in quotes, but this person is actually very, very street smart and understands the business he is very much involved in.
I said it was a two-part question, and I get you on all of that. And this is not just to the Honest Bunch or to you in particular, it's to the podcast culture. The second part of the question is this, which is what you sort of alluded to when you were speaking initially. You started this podcast, people didn't really pay attention. You got one that sort of got people talking. Isn't it true? Be honest, as the Honest Bunch member, that you found something that worked. And said, okay, this is what is going to keep this thing being talked about. Mm-hmm. And you leaned into it heavily. There was a time your podcast was accused of sort of, tilting towards women conversations, a certain
which
way.
Was very false.
But my point is, you obviously lean into something. You also know what you're doing when you're releasing those teasers. Why don't you release the teaser of the other parts of the conversation? I don't know if I'm making sense.
No, we actually...
So you're leaning into something. That's what gets people
talking. I held on to controversy.
So no, the truth is, we actually release multiple teasers. But like I said, people see stuff, and many of the people that share these teasers are also looking to generate traffic for themselves. And so the accompanying caption to the video...
Everybody's chasing clout.
No, they are the people chasing clout. We are not. And I'll give an example. I mentioned Portable, Managing Success, the most views. We've also had The Stalker, nearly 800,000 views. ID Kabasa, nearly 700,000 views. Dr. Olumide Emmanuel, nearly 600,000 views. Helen Paul, nearly 700,000 views. And a lot of these people shared great insights. Like I said, the numbers don't lie. It is not me trying to convince people. The numbers are there for themselves. So it means that a lot of people saw those episodes. But the ones people will get to speak about are the ones they see on multiple platforms, because even these platforms are looking for traffic. They don't generate their own content. So anything they see, that's why you're going to see, post on certain popular blogs with the caption, groom, pause wine away on his wedding day.
Yes.
And people will come and begin to say, you don't want me to poison up. You don't want this, you don't want that. That is what those people are interested in. And that is what will generate traffic. But just put, for example, a need for a mind shift in Nigerian politics. You will see 2 comments. So I am saying some people are taking advantage of that, but not we. Because no. I just give examples of...
Let me get her perspective.
Views.
Is he not right though? I mean, he's passionate about this thing. But then again, I guess what he's saying also makes sense, right? As much as, yes, there's a podcast culture. Yeah. He might be defending his own podcast, but there's a podcast culture. Isn't that a reflection though then on the listener and what they're interested in? Because whether we talk about this podcast culture thing, there's a lot of Nigerian podcasts that are very, very good and do not quote unquote chase clout.
Exactly.
You see the views. You don't see those numbers because people don't want to listen, unfortunately, to those very serious, healthy conversations sometimes. So isn't it more a reflection on the listener than the podcasters?
Like I said, it still boils down to the clouds. Everybody just wants. They don't want to hear good news. They just want to hear bad stuffs, horrible stuffs, erotic stuffs. Stuff like that. Apart from podcasts, there are also other shows that sometimes, like the non-marriage dating. Sometimes when I'm bored, I just watch it to laugh. Because at the end of the day, I think she should just change the name from dating show to Survival of the Baddest Mouth.
Or Basbos.
God bless you, because it's not a dating show anymore. It's now, okay, I don't like your outfit, I can't be with you, and then you're pissed because I don't have the right to my own opinion, and then it turns to back and forth, and I'm sure there are very interesting parts of the show that ended well, but no, it's the Basbos we the audience are seeing. So why
of the audience.
Exactly? So why are they not cutting the part that's very educative and showing to the viewers? Why are you giving us the ones that make us? Again, it boils down to bloggers, like he said, the bloggers.
I honestly think they don't owe it to anybody. I mean, because they don't conform to certain rules, and so they will do anything to just push their audience.
Exactly.
Now, when we also started, I said, see, you have to curate content for a niche audience. Leave every other person. There are people who would come from maybe Instagram, other platforms. Oh, I want to watch the full episode. But anybody that would dedicate their data and their time to listen to you for 2 hours, that is the person you should think about.
Exactly.
Not the person who wants to see certain things and maybe because they are sensational, come and watch.
But you find out other podcasts are that way.
Other podcasts in Nigeria? Yes, I do.
Like?
I will not give them free. I will not give them free publicity. But the truth is, there are specific podcasts with content that are tailored to address certain things in our society.
Exactly.
But it is also what the audience is looking for.
Exactly.
What the audience is looking for.
Which is why I say, and I know that because I've seen your podcast. I've seen a number of them. A lot of your podcasts are good. But at the same time, there's also no doubting the fact that we know our audience. You have been in the media for years, many, many years before podcasting. You understand the listener. You know what they like to hear. You lean into it a few times. You go for shock sometimes. Like the last episode we're talking about, and many other episodes, the shock value works. You are even shocked sometimes when you're doing that. So you can't deny the fact that you lean into it quite a bit, right? Secondly, and I asked this a different way before, do you always believe your guests when they're on? When they're saying these things?
So I think that because we, build the context and we know what to expect in the end for the person who is viewing, we don't care about, so long as you don't come and start, maybe sharing false and misleading information, we might not be able to tell. But if you come and share false and misleading information that can put the lives of other people at risk, it's our responsibility to call you out straight up. And also, like we always say, you are entitled to your personal opinion, but you are not entitled to the facts. Yeah. Facts are sacred. So if you want to come and share your personal story and want to try to make it look like that is what exactly it is, if this is your opinion, if this is the fact, we would call you out straight up.
Do you think podcasts should be regulated? He's watching you closely.
No, gas can be. There's some like you mentioned something now. The Ross, the whole side D. I don't even know her name. It caused like a really big drama on the internet. I was even called a pick me girl on top of that issue because nowadays girls feel that's the right way to meet a man right now. You need to
some girls.
No, I'm not.
So do you think that's an indictment on the podcast or on the girl?
Like it was on their podcast. So and now it was
they have some responsibility for that?
Yeah, I think they should have countered.
But we did though. I told you that we had somebody else on the podcast first.
Yeah, but that's what I'm telling you. That other person you had now, Nigerians didn't really see that other person you had. It is hers that is still trending.
Some Nigerians.
Because that same week, we had guys who came on the internet and started posting ridiculous demands from girls that they just met. I mean, it was crazy.
This debate is stupid. Do you think podcasts should be regulated?
I think that the moderators have a responsibility to the audience, to the viewing audience, because it is a platform that impacts lives. So you must look out for the people. And so bringing your wealth of experience from maybe traditional media, it's important that you tell the person, when the person begins to talk nonsense, you call out the person and tell the person, this is not true.
Very true.
And that's what we do.
You can check out The Honest Bunch on YouTube.
Thank you, sir.
They are quarrelsome.
Yes, very, very quarrelsome.
We're going to take a break. I'll be right back. Please stay with us.
Don't just stand there teasing me. Now it's time to show and prove.